everyone, I'm Sanjana, J and J's Fireside Chat Coordinator, and I'm here with Eric for another Fireside Chat. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so please tell us about your educational and professional backgrounds and the path that you took to get to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. I think I'd call it a pretty linear one. And what I mean by that is even at a very young age, for as long as I can remember at least, I was always into science and technology. I'm a tinkerer. I was hands-on, probably inspired by my dad, who was always doing something around the house. My mom was a school teacher, retired now, but she liked to tell her students, I went to 21st grade. So after high school, I went to Rutgers. I earned my bachelor's degree in chemistry in a 4-year period. From there, I went to Yale. I earned my PhD in chemical physics in about 5 years. It was there that I really learned to question the word should. I like to use my hands to make new things work. And so when I hear, well, it should work, I like to prove it. I like to execute on that. And graduate school really kind of reinforced that for me. After my formal education, I jumped into a technology company making these portable devices for chemical detection in the real world for a company called Smith's Detection. I spent about 11 years there. The first 6 or 7 years as a scientist, moving up the ranks, leading new projects and developing new products. And after that period, promoted and then spent about 4 years with the same company, managing teams for the same division doing that. It was a lot of fun. The stakes were very high. These were very critical applications. We weren't making paper clips, no offense to paperclip makers, but we were making real world devices where the customers were using these devices in very hazardous events. You frankly wish they never turned them on or used them, because if they were, it was not a great day, but it felt good knowing you were providing a customer with a solution. After that, I was kind of eager to learn new things, moved back to New Jersey, challenged myself. I saw what Honeywell was doing. And I joined Honeywell in 2016, where I still am today. I was an R&D leader for a group called Authentication Technologies. It was kind of a continuation of my journey in critical applications, worrying about anti-counterfeiting of things like money. After that, about 4 years, I was promoted to leading a much larger R&D team, still doing new product development, for the Advanced Materials Organization. So think of things like healthcare packaging, polymers for body armor, medical sutures, ropes, stuff like that. But in summary, I'd say I followed my passion in science and technology and making things. So that's it.
That's amazing. And it's cool, like you mentioned, you had like sort of a linear path. I know I've heard a lot of people who have gone, from like one area of education to a totally different field in the end, but it's also cool to hear, you're really interested in something to begin with and sort of are able to see it through. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, did you have any significant extracurricular experiences in high school and or college that you feel really helped you later on in your career?
Yeah. I mean, the short answer is yes, and kind of primarily spanned 2 areas. One was team sports and the other was hobbies. I'll unpack that a little bit. So in high school, I played soccer, I played club hockey. In graduate school, I played competitive softball. I love sports. In a corporate environment like I'm in now, I think it bodes well in terms of what's needed to excel. A couple things there. Kind of highlights the importance of working as a team. You win together, you struggle together. It also creates a competitive fire, right? A desire to win, a desire to beat the competition. At the end of the day, companies like to make money, and that competitive fire is helpful when teams go take on challenging tasks. The last thing around sports, there's rules to the game, and you got to play them. You got to play by the rules. That's what I mean. So I think that was really, really helpful in my career. I think the second area around hobbies, it pushed my creativity. I'm still kind of big into art. I draw, I'm a sketcher. I like photography. I also like woodworking, make furniture and stuff like that around the house. I think these hobbies kind of constantly push and exercise the creativity parts of my brain, which I think also bodes well in the environment I'm in. My job and my team's job is essentially problem solving and making new things, and creativity is helpful.
Absolutely. And especially on the point of being in a team and playing sports, I'm sure a lot of students listening in could relate to that. And as you said, it just helps a lot in the long run, especially, communication, teamwork, collaboration, all of that. It's
Yeah.
great to hear you did that. So, lastly, what advice would you give to young people who will be embarking on their professional lives soon?
Yeah, it's a tough question. And when I say tough, I don't mean it in the way of I can't think of anything. My challenge is probably maybe I think of too many, um, but I don't want to put everybody to sleep. Having said that, I think I would narrow it down to probably four key messages, and I'm going to use a couple quotes actually to help me relay that message. The first is a quote. He's a science fiction writer. His name is Isaac Asimov. Think of World War II era, so think of the 40s through the 60s kind of thing. And he said, keep in mind I'm a scientist. The most exciting phrase to hear in science, and the one that heralds new discoveries, is not eureka. That's funny. It's true. As a card-carrying scientist, my wisdom to you on this quote is be curious, be a tinkerer, explore. Frankly, things don't often work the way you think, and that's okay. It's part of the fun. Second quote, kind of related. I'm sure you've heard of Thomas Edison, arguably the most prolific inventor in the world. He once said, I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 ways that it won't work. I use this one for everybody listening to remind you to stay determined. You're going to fail at things. That's okay, as long as you learn from it. And as important, my guidance would be stay focused on the solution. It's time and brain cells better spent. There's two more quotes, two more messages I want to share. The third one, not sure if people have heard of him. His name's Howard Aiken. Think of when computers were first starting, a company called IBM in the very, very early days. He said, don't worry about people stealing your ideas. If it's a good one, you're going to have to ram it down people's throats. You could say, what does Eric mean by that? Spoiler alert here, and I don't say this to deflate you, but there's always going to be naysayers or negative people who don't see things the way you see them. It's okay. Frankly, listen to them. Learn how to filter it sometimes if it's getting in your way. But frankly, if you believe in what's right, stay focused and do what you believe is right. And the last pearl of wisdom I want to share with you, this is from a colleague. So you could argue not a famous person in history, but I want to end on be nice to others, always. You never know what's going on in other people's worlds that you know. A colleague said this to me years ago, and he's right. So just always look out for your peers by being nice to others.
Wow, that was fabulous, fabulous advice. I honestly am letting everything soak in, and I'm sure everyone else that listens will too. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good.
All right, this was a great session. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did.
I did. I appreciate the opportunity. It was very nice, and what you're doing here is very nice. Promoting education is important.